Hello, good evening. If you were with me earlier in the morning, you would have been with me as I experienced series of mysterious interruptions to my broadcast. I attempted to restart that broadcast at least 3 times, and on every occasion, I failed spectacularly for reasons I still cannot explain or have any one of the technical persons explain to me. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I will not speculate beyond just saying that the timing of the interruptions of my broadcast, both last week and this week, have been particularly suspicious. So, in order to forestall these, I believe for the foreseeable future, whilst I continue to work towards um, making my processes less vulnerable, I will begin to pre record my broadcasts. So you will bear with me. I would miss our live broadcast, but that's just the way it's going to have to be for some time because what I have to say is not just important for this generation. It is important that the coming generation have clarity as to exactly where we began to lose our way so that they might be able to retrace the steps if we are unable to find the path in this cycle. So today, as I determined in the morning, I will do, I will focus on delivering my English language uh, sermon because that is exactly what it is. Anything that is rooted in truth is in pursuit of godliness. So, yeah, we were in church earlier in the morning and we would have held our own church. But be that as it may, we're going to have our own church right now. So, the topic of my sermon today is the death of men and the death of a nation. Now, something provoked this. Sometime to, I think, around the beginning of last week, somebody came into my virtual space and asked the question of me. The person asked, would we ever have another Gani? And I responded, or rather, I would have responded in the usual manner, oh no, we can never have another Gani, which would be completely correct because in reality, there are never aren't two of the same kind of every one of us. It's just every one of us are one of a kind. It's a function of how we elect to evolve. So I've always believed that it is actually impossible to expect that another person would mirror somebody that you have idealized. So that would have been my stock response. But this time around, because it was on social media and I didn't need to respond, I did not respond, but in my spirit, what came in was something a little deeper. And that was the point where I began to remember a song that I learned watching Baba Yemi Elebuibon growing up. He had this song. He says, èèyàn wọn, ará ayé ènìyàn ṣòro, èèyàn wọn o, a sì tún ṣòro, èèyàn wọn, ará ayé ènìyàn ṣòro, kò séèyàn mọ́, èèyàn wọn o, a sì tún ṣòro. What this song is saying is that men are scarce and we are difficult. Human beings are scarce and we are also difficult. Now, if you really truly understand the Yoruba language, you find that it is in deconstruction of our phrases, our wise sayings, our proverbs. It is in the disconstruction that you begin to really truly understand what the proverb or wise saying might be actually be saying. And this is one of such situations because it says "enyowo." It is the meaning of eniyan, enitayo, the one that is chosen. So it is not every human that is sentient. It is not every person that you call human that is truly human. That is, so already the Yoruba is talking about a person who is worthy of the name of a human being. So they're talking about the scarcity of true men in Yomo. So when I received a reminder by no less a person than the head of the legal team that labored to free me from Ekiti and are still busy defending me today, Mr. Olumide Adeyinka Fushika. When I received this reminder of Gani's lecture, the question that I had been asked earlier in the week began to resonate even more in my spirit. And I began to ask myself, say, can we have another Gani? And here I was at the Gani lecture at the Lagos Airport Hotel. I didn't arrive on time. You can imagine I was heading there from Lekki. I arrived fashionably late towards the end. And where I was sat with the learned Sikh, Mr. Fushika, I observed that they were going to announce the investiture of an outstanding judge who was said to have turned down a humongous amount of money that was offered to her as bribe and handed this money to the DSS, worthy recipient of any prize that is named after a man as worthy as Gani Fawehinmi. The guest speaker was Pastor Tunde Bakari. And as I watched these, I pondered the question that I had been asked. Can we have another Gani? If you are acquainted with me, you will know that I am not a man who particularly enjoys the protocol of public gatherings. So the first opportunity I had to slip away from the venue when Mr. Fusika was called to take pictures with the learned judge. He was called along with other SEALs. And Mr. Femi Falana was called. Mr. Dele Adeshina was called. And when Mr. Fusika was called and he had to join them, I took it as my cue to leave. And as I was heading back to the island, the question came back to me again. Can we have another guy? And I thought about it. Ogunlana would have been in that place as well, my late friend Adeshina Ademola Ogunlana. Can we have another Shina Ogunlana? The man who galvanized the Tiger Bar to resist the criminal increment in tenement tax in Lagos State. Can we ever have their kind again? And then the Yoruba proverb came to me. He says, àìṣedéédé ọmọ aráyé tó ń múni ṣèdárò ará ọ̀run. When those who are alive are weighed and found wanting, are consistently inconsistent, unfit for purpose and useless, we are left missing those who have already died. We are left mourning the dead all over, not necessarily because we are not accepting of the fact of their departure, but because we are disappointed in the living. Yes, it is true that the Yorubas will say that in your son láàyè ọjọ́ tá a bá kú là ń dèrè. It is only after a man is dead that he is deified. That is true. And it could very well be that this is why we look to these persons after their death and we continue to wonder if we would ever see their types again. This is all true. And the Yorubas did say again, they say that irú Ọlọ́run nìkan ni kò sí, irú èèyàn pọ̀ jaburata, which means that it is only the like of God that is irreplaceable or uncommon. That human beings are one a dime, and they're completely correct. But you see, that is where the correctness ends. Because the reality is that just as human beings die, societies also die. You don't get it. It is all well and good to be lamenting that will we ever see the like of Ghani. But have you considered that it is not the like of Ghani that we have not found? It is the society that produced Ghani that is dead. If you recall, the lecture of the title of this lecture is the death of men. That is the scarcity of men. Dearth, death. The scarcity of men and the death of a nation. When we talk about a nation dying, it is the moral, the mores, the ethos, the vision that dies before the physical nation dies. Before for there to be a Ganifawa in me, there was a judiciary that understood the importance of the rule of law. In spite of the fact that it was during the era of the military, the judiciary stood firm. Where is that judiciary today? Where is that judiciary? So even if there was a Ghani today, where is the judiciary with which the Ghani would have worked? The Supreme Court that rewrites its own judgment routinely, a judiciary that routinely works from the answer to the question. If that was the judiciary in existence during the years of Ghani, would there ever have been a Ghani? And oh yeah, it's easy for us to be pointing the fingers at the judiciary. What about you? I was in the student union when I was in school. By the grace of God, I rose to become the president of the LASU Student Union, 94-95 session. The student union I left behind in LASU is not the one that is parading and singing on its mandate today. So where would a Ghani be today if he was in a Nigeria of today? The society that produced that Ghani is dead. If it is not completely dead, it is dying. And when there are death of men in societies die. So yeah, there are many Ghanaians in Nigeria. Many of them are languishing behind bars. Remember the guy that spoke and called himself the whistleblower that pointed out the organ trafficking in the police. Where is he today? What happened to General Ali Kefi? Everyone that has spoken against the evil of Nigeria, what happens to them? There are 1,001 Ghanese today, but the society that nurtured Ghani is gone. When Ghani was around, you had people like Olubumi Okoye heading the Catholic Church in Nigeria. Who is heading the Catholic Church in Nigeria today? What are the preeminent Catholic bishops of Nigeria? What are they saying? I applaud the effort of the Bishop of Benue and others, people like Reverend Father Ehusani. I applaud them. But the question is this: what has become of those institutions that spoke truth to power, that undergirded Ghanese struggles? Where are they today? What happened to Nance? The same Nance that we bled for. What has happened to them? Where is Asu? Oh, what about the musician? For there to be Ghani, there was a fella. Who is today's fella? Yeah, who is today's fella? For there to be a Ghani, there was a Beko. The first time I ever met Ghani in my life, I met him in the company of a Falana. Where is that Falana today? Where is he? I can go on and tell you about all the NLC, the ASU of Ghani's time. They're all gone. When we talk about normative collapse of the society, it is very, very easy to imagine that normative collapse is some abstract concept. But look all around you. Look all around you. Where is the society that undergirded Ghanese struggle? Where is that society? Where is the educational system that undergirded Ghanese struggle? Certainly wasn't producing educated illiterates who do not even seem to understand what is in their own enlightened selfish interest. Where is the labor movement of Ghanese time? Where? Where is the civil society of Ghanese time? Where are the faith-based organizations of Ghanese time? Where is the Nigeria Medical Association of Ghanese time? Where is the NBA of Ghanese time? How can you have a Ghani in a society that has become patently anti-truth? It's not like he was particularly rosy in Ghani's time. If it was, he should have won the presidency when he ran. The National Conscience Party was pretty much like Yele's party as well. It was a fringe party, in spite of the fact that this man was self-sacrificing. But the reality is that that society was more supportive, less amoral, less tolerant of evil than the one that is demanding a Ghani today. How can you have a Ghani today when you have judges who will sit on what they call the seat of justice and make pronouncements that are nauseating to the ears? It's not just nauseating, see, as in it is nauseating to the ear. It took pressure from the US to get our Supreme Court. Right, it didn't even involve them any longer. It was essentially the prerogative of mercy. But a court actually sat with the appellation of the Court of Justice and proceeded to sentence a man to death simply because he defended himself against a Fulani marauder on his own farm, in his ancestral land, and a court sat and concluded that that was murder. Where is the court of Ghani's time? Where is the court of Ghani's time? One of the most rabidly pro-government judges of Ghani's season was, I believe, can't remember his name now. He used to be the DPP in Lagos State during the Babangida's time. Later became a judge in Lagos State. Maybe I'll remember his name as I continue. But I do recall Kesintin, Justice Kesintin, Abiodun Kesintin. Multiple times, Ghani got injunctive reliefs against the military government from the court of Justice Abiodun Kesintin. Where are the Kesintins of today? Where are the judges who understand that the purpose of their existence is not to be singing on his mandate they will stand? What has become of our society today that in this same country, this same Nigeria, where I have listened, I grew up listening to Shemi Jaja, Shemi Jaja, Shemi Jaja, tan 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 tan, Shemi Jaja, Tunji Oyelano song. I grew up listening to that music. And in that music, we were told repeatedly of all the things that shouldn't happen. How the chairman, Tabi Wakao, as they go, they don't shake all the national treasury rules. The treasury is no longer even national, it's been privatized. And nobody is talking anymore. They've left the talking to fringe elements and they are demanding for their modern day Ghani. Where is that Ghani supposed to come from? From Cotonou? The Ghani that will come, that you people will be the first to condemn. Oh, so it's now that it's the turn of the Yoruba that you are talking. Oh, you don't realize that it's our turn. Oh, he's speaking against the Igbo. Oh, he's talking against the Fulani. Oh, he's speaking against the Ebira. Oh, is this. Oh, is that. The truth has become subjective. A society that has subjectified the truth is demanding a Ghani as though a Ghani is an outlier. The truth of the matter is that it is not the existence of Ghanis that can be referred to as being outliers. It is the society that nurtured Ghani that has become poisonous today and does not allow the truth to be told without consequences. Simply telling the truth in today's Nigeria, in spite of the appellation of a democracy, has become a dangerous endeavor for no other reason other than for telling the truth or pissing off a man of power, you may actually end up dead. It's that simple. There was a young man during the NSAS thing. This young man, all he did was to be videoing, recording. He was a journalist. I believe he was a student of Taisho Henry. He died. He was killed, murdered in broad daylight by somebody described as a member of the House of Assembly in Lagos State. And that was the end of it. I believe even the murder was caught on camera. And you are asking for Ghani. You are asking for Ghani. Where is the Ghani supposed to come from? Do you know how many people are routinely clamped in? Do you know how many times Yele has been clamped in a cell for no reason other than daring to demand that he be treated like a citizen? And it's because you can talk about Yele because it's somebody you and I know. What about the 1,001 persons who have no names, who are languishing? Look, there is a guy I left behind in Ekiti prison. The only reason I've not spoken publicly about him is because I do not want to worsen the situation in that place. And if I am forced to, by the end of February, I certainly will. But I have seen so many cases in that place who have no business being in the place in the first place. No pun intended. The reality is that the society that should have produced the Ghanaians you are demanding have killed the Ghanaians that you are asking for. It's not for a lack of Ghanaians that another Ghanaian has not shown up. It is because the society that nurtured Ghana does not exist any longer. It simply does not exist any longer. End of story. That is just the truth. It's just not there anymore. So if you have a situation where the government of a country has assured that it is not going to happen, that the best of its type emerge at any point in time, be that in traditional roles or in elective offices, why would you then be demanding that what is already scarce should be edified? We have built a society that has zero use or need for persons of integrity. We have built a society that believes that those who tell the truth have done something out of the ordinary. We've built a society that criminalizes the truth and punishes those who dare. We've built a society where we make sure that nobody is zero-fied. We make sure that the youth aspires to nothing better than the base. Just be rich. However you do it does not matter. Have you heard anybody seeking to immortalize the lady who stopped Ebola from spreading? Dr. Adadevo, I believe her name was. Have you seen anyone doing anything like that? What health institution has been named after her? The other day was on Free Nwosu, and they were asking that he should be immortalized by naming the INEC house after him. Of course not. Why would you want to immortalize the man who conducted the freest and fairest election in the history of this country when you have in office a man who is the beneficiary of a brazenly stolen election? So we have built a society that is hostile to the truth. So how can you have a society that is hostile to the truth, that is now demanding the special? Èèyàn men are scarce, but good societies are even scarcer, and it's almost impossible for a society that glorifies evil to magnify good men. Instead of magnifying them, it kills them. It killed Ogunlano. The same persons who would have undergirded Gani in his lifetime persecuted Ogunlano and ensured that people like Farumbi died. So let's be clear. When people lament and turn around and they are talking about, oh, would there be another Gani? There cannot be another Gani in a society such as the one that we have managed to evolve. And that is not because there was anything special about Gani. He was just another human being who stood and lived by the truth. And there are multiple such persons in Nigeria, most of whom have already either been killed, suppressed, impoverished, or erased. That is what we have evolved as a society in the place of the society that nurtured the Ghana that we are demanding to see replicated. So when you are asking the question, would there ever be another Ghana? I'm sorry to say, there are multiple Ghanese. The question to ask is, can we ever redeem our society sufficiently that we recognize the Ghanese amongst us, elevate them, and allow them to lead us to sanity. Let us be clear. It is not Ghani that we don't have. It is the society that produced and nurtured him that we have lost. That is my message for this week. I hope to see you again next week. But before I go, let me say this, because there are times when the absence of purpose inevitably leads to abuse. I do what I do because I believe that a peaceful revolution is possible in Nigeria. I do what I do because I believe that it is possible for us to engage our brain and reason our way out of what is in front of us. This week, the totality of my exertion is to get you to understand that it will take the collective to lift us out of the mess we are in. It's not about Ghanese. It's not about Shino Ogunlano. It's not about Fellas. We even lied against Fela. We turn around and we say, oh, he was a prophet. He wasn't a prophet. He was a truth teller. We are the country that have become a country of liars. The currency of his truth, in spite of the years since when they have been told, is why you turn around and label him a prophet. He was just a truth teller. And all you have to do is do the same. Just tell your truth. And Ghani, there are 1,001 Ghanese in Nigeria. It is the society that produced him that we have lost. We can do it again as a collective. And that's the challenge I place in front of you. Regain Nigeria. I wasn't one of those who sold it, and I doubt that you are. But if we are not the ones who sold Nigeria, we must be the ones who redeem it. Wake up. I'll see you next.